This morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, texts 43 through to 45, and we've written text 43. Aham bhavo yagya ime prajesha dakshadayo ye bhavadayascha Svarlokapala Kagalokapala Rilokapala Stalalokapala. So I'll just read the other verses. Gandhava Vidya Dadacharanesha Ye Yaksha Raksho Raganaganata Ye Varishinam Rishabha Pitrinam Daitendra Sirashvara Danavendra Anyecha Ye Preta Pisacha Bhuta Kusmandayaro Mrigapakshadisha Yatkincha Loke Bhagavan Mahasvat Oja Sahasvad Balavat Katachamasvat Sri Hri Vibhutyatmavad Adhutarnam Tantvam Padam Rupavad Ashvarupam. Translation. I'll just read the translation and purport. I myself, Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, great generators of living beings like Daksha and Prajapati, yourselves, Narada and the Kumaras, heavenly demigods like Indra and Chandra, the leaders of the Bhurloka planets, the leaders of the earthly planets, the leaders of the lower planets, the leaders of the Gandhava planets, the leaders of the Vidyadhara planets, the leaders of the Charaloka planets, the leaders of the Yakshas, Rakshas, and Uragas, the great sages, the great demons, the great atheists, and the great spacemen, as well as the dead bodies, evil spirits, Satans, jinn, Kusmandas, great aquatics, great beasts, and great birds, etc. In other words, anything and everything which is exceptionally possessed of power, opulence, mental and perceptual dexterity, strength, forgiveness, beauty, modesty, opulence, and breeding, whether in form or formless, may appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord, but actually they are not so. They are only a fragment of the transcendental potency of the Lord. But Lord Brahma didn't leave anyone out there. Practically. Etc., he said, etc. Purport. Those in the list given above, beginning from the name Brahmaji, the first living creature within the universe, down to Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Narada, and other powerful demigods, men, supermen, sages, rishis, and other lower creatures of extraordinary strength and opulence, including the dead bodies, the Satans, the evil spirits, jinn, aquatics, birds, and beasts, may appear to be the Supreme Lord, but factually none of them is the Supreme Lord. Every one of them possesses only a fragment of the great potencies of the Supreme Lord. The less intelligent man is surprised to see the wonderful actions of material phenomena, as the Aborigines are fearful of a great thunderbolt, a great and gigantic banyan tree, or a great lofty mountain in the jungle. For such undeveloped human beings, merely the slight display of the Lord's potency is captivating. And still a more advanced person is captivated by the powers of the demigods and goddesses. Therefore, those who are simply astonished by the powers of anything in the creation of the Lord, without any factual information of the Lord himself, are known as Shaktas, or worshippers of the great powers. The modern scientist is also captivated by the wonderful actions and reactions of natural phenomena, and therefore is also a Shakta. These lower grade persons gradually rise to become Suryas, or worshippers of the sun god, or Ganapatyas, worshippers of the mass of people, as Janata, Janardhan, or Daridra Narayan, etc. in the form of Ganapati, and then rise to the platform of worshipping Lord Shiva in search for the ever-existing soul, and then to the stage of worshipping Lord Vishnu, the super soul, etc., without any information of Govinda, Lord Krishna, who is the original Lord Vishnu. In other ways, some are worshippers of race, nationality, birds, beasts, evil spirits, Satans, etc. The general worship of Sunny Deva, the Lord of the stressful condition, and Sitala Devi, the goddess of smallpox, is also common to the mass of people. And there are many foolish men who worship the mass of people or the poor class of men. So different persons, societies and communities, etc., worship some of the potent manifestations of the Lord, wrongly accepting the powerful object as God. But in this verse it is advised by Brahmaji that none of them is the Supreme Lord. They are only borrowed plumes from the original Almighty Lord Sri Krishna. When the Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita to worship Him alone, it is to be understood that worshipping Lord Krishna includes worshipping all that is mentioned, because He, Lord Krishna, includes everyone. When the Lord is described as formless in the Vedic literatures, it is to be understood that all these forms mentioned above, within the experience of universal knowledge, different exhibitions of the Lord's transcendental potencies only, and none of them factually represents the transcendental form of the Lord. But when the Lord actually descends on the earth or anywhere else, or anywhere within the universe, the less intelligent class of men also mistake Him to be one of them, and thus they imagine the transcendence to be formless or impersonal. Actually, the Lord is not formless, nor does He belong to any of the multi-forms experienced within the universal forms. One should try to know the truth about the Lord by following the instructions of Brahmaji. Very wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. So today, you may have noticed on the Vaishnava calendar, a very auspicious day, in that there's a number of anniversaries of the... Today, of course, is Bhadra Purnima. Bhadra Purnima. Vaisheshika Prabhu, he's a book distribution minister. For the last few years, he's organized a big push to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam on Bhadra Purnima, because Bhadra Purnima is, of course, the month of Bhadra. Generally in Bengal, it's a rainy season. They've got a bit of a nickname for the Bhadra month. They call it Rotten Bhadra, because it rains. Actually, it rains, and then it kind of stops raining, and then the sun comes, and everything starts going rotten because of that. But Bhadra is this month, and today is the Purnim, is the full moon, and it is also the sun is in the high in the Leo constellation. So it is like almost like it's pictured like the sun is sitting on the throne of the constellation of Leo. So it's like a king sitting on a throne. And this is the king, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the king of the literatures. And so distributing Srimad Bhagavatam to anyone on this day, on the Bhadra Purnima, is very, very auspicious. A very auspicious day, and we also see that, incidentally, that Srila Prabhupada took sannyas on this day, on the Bhadra Purnima, in 1959 in Keshav Maharaj's ashram there in Mathura. And so that was at that time, 59, it was September 17th. Today is September 21st. But Bhadra Purnima then. So Prabhupada took sannyas, and also another anniversary is the Vishvarupa. Vishvarupa, who is the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya. And now it is said that he took sannyas. Now there's some different accounts here whether he disappeared from the world on this day or appeared in the world on this day, although it's accepted that he took sannyas on this day. And not much is written about the Vishvarupa, the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya. There's a little bit of an account in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also a little bit more in Chaitanya Bhagavat, a little bit more in Chaitanya Mangala. Lochan Das Thakur. But Vishvarup, Vishvarup, now there's a description there that Vishvarup was a wonderful personality. He said that he is the part of the Chatuvyuha. He is the incarnation of Lord Sankarshan. We have Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, the Chatuvyuha, coming from Lord Narayan. So he is Sankarshan in Gaura Leela. But growing up, he was some years older than Lord Chaitanya. He was a very good student and he mastered all the Shastras, and he would always talk Krishna Katha. Very handsome, very beautiful. And so he would always talk Krishna Katha and at school, and he was just not interested in any other things. One time his father, there's a description in Chaitanya Bhagavatam, just saw him coming home from school. He was around 17, 18 years old. Now, it is said that there's a description of Vishvarup that he was so devoted to Lord Vishnu that he would always be in the temple room area of the house, where the deity, the Shalagram was and everything like that. He didn't really go to other rooms that much. A description like that. He didn't really go to other rooms. He just mainly stayed in there, and he didn't really go and do much else. And he was always chanting and so on and so forth. So then his father, a very handsome young, so his father saw him, just noticed when he was coming home. He was about 17, 18, and he thought, well, he's getting older now. Now it's time to think about getting married and arranging for his marriage. So it is mentioned that Vishvarup knew what his father was thinking because his position, and he just knew what he was thinking, but he wasn't inclined to get married. So he thought, no, I shouldn't get married. Actually, I should leave home and take to the renounced order of life. That's what I want to do. And he was thinking in this way. The description is written like that he said, my father won't be very happy with that, and my mother especially won't be very happy with that, but it's something I have to do that. And so it said that night, when everyone was asleep, he left home and he went across in the dark and he swam across the Ganga to the other side, and that was pretty much the last anyone ever saw of him again. He took sannyas. And there's a very wonderful description, beautiful description of when they woke up in the morning and Vishvarup was where he was, looking all around for him and no one could find him, and so they were crying. They sent out people all over, went looking themselves. They couldn't find him anywhere. Mother Sachi was crying, and Jagannath Mishra, he was crying, and then somehow or other everyone came and tried to console them. He's gone. He's probably gone and accepted sannyas, and some of them said. So they tried to console the parents and everything like that. And don't worry, he'll be all right. Krishna will look after him, like that. So there's a nice description in Chaitanya Bhagavatam, also Chaitanya Mangala, of Vishvarupa. And now he travelled around. There's some mention that he took sannyas in Varanasi from Krishna Bharati. Lord Chaitanya took from Kesha Bharati, but the name mentioned there is Krishna Bharati, and also in Varanasi. And later on, when he was travelling around as a sannyasi, Lord Chaitanya, when he took sannyas and he went travelling, in his travels it is mentioned that he was kind of looking out for his brother, seeing if he could run across him anywhere, when he was travelling around. And he met Rangapuri, and Rangapuri told him, "Oh no, your brother actually passed away from this world in 1510. So it's just after, in Pandharpur, a very famous temple in Pandharpur. He passed away, and it said he merged into the deity, and also the description is he merged into the form of Lord Nityananda. He was like expanded from Lord Nityananda as Sankarshan. So Lord Chaitanya had received that information from Rangapuri, who passed it on to him. So it's not that much more written about Vishvarup, but very, very beautiful and very handsome, and just left home just like that and accepted sannyas so today is considered the anniversary of his acceptance of sannyas. And as I said, Srila Prabhupada accepted sannyas on this day in Keshav Maharaj's mat. And you can read the nice story of that in the Prabhupada Lilamrita, where there's mentioned there. On the Vaishnava calendar, there's some story told also how Prabhupada, in his Grihastha days, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati came to him in a dream, and I think the first one was like 1945 when he was still a Grihastha, and said that you have to leave home and take sannyas and preach this message all over the world. So he had the dream, but then he thought, how I'm just in the middle of all my Grihastha affairs here, I really can't do that. He kept the instruction within his heart. Then he had another dream a little later on, and then he, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had a third dream that he looked at, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati emphatically told him, no, you must do it. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada had written to Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj of the Chaitanya Mat, asking him that he wanted to take sannyas. The order of his guru was that he should preach, and he wanted to go and pray, and he wanted to take sannyas so he could, facilitate that. And so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he replied that yes, well, we can consider that, but first of all, come and join our mat, live in the mat for some time, and then we'll see what the situation is, and then after some time, maybe you can be considered for sannyas. And so Srila Prabhupada at that time, he was living in Vrindavan, and he thought, well, I haven't got many days left, I don't know if I want to go out, how many years that will be. He was already elderly. I don't know how many years I've got left. And so, he decided to ask Keshav Maharaj about that. And then Keshav Maharaj, he was very enthusiastic for it. Yes, you must. He was very emphatic about it. Yes, you should. They're very good. It's a very good idea, and you should do it, and you should do it immediately. You had the dream from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and then you got the instruction that you have to travel, and yes, you should do it. But then even the description was that Prabhupada thought, then he resisted. Well, I don't know. So someone was pushing him again, So, but then Keshav Maharaj kept pushing on him, and so that was arranged. And you can see that picture. I think there's a photo there of just after the yagya, that elderly Sanatan, what was it, Sanatan Maharaj? Muni, and he was like 90 years old or something. They're standing, and Keshav Maharaj is there. So Prabhupada took sannyas on this day, Bhadra Punim. And interestingly enough, now why, of course, it is mentioned on this full moon day, Proshta Padyam Purnamasyam Hema Singha Samanvitam Dadati Yo Bhagavatam Sayati Paramam Gatim. If on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. Now, in the purport is written, one should place Bhagavatam on the Srimad Bhagavatam on the golden throne because it is the king of literature. On the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, the sun, which is the king of literatures, is present in the constellation of Leo, I mentioned. One may unreservedly just even worship Srimad Bhagavatam. I was on a conference call the other day, Ministry of Education, who wanted to, there was Shravanam week or something, and they got a whole lot of the leaders to come on the conference call and tell about the importance of reading and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And I mentioned that one time the book distributors went to have private darshan of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was thanking the book distributors for distributing his books and asking that we should make sure we have to read these books. Otherwise, how can you, preach if you don't know what's in the books? And then he made the famous statement. Someone asked, what is it? Oh, maybe that wasn't in the darshan. Maybe that was in a class. But in a class, I think he said that. Someone asked, what is the value of distributing Srimad Bhagavatam? And Prabhupada's I always remember Prabhupada's eyes went big. Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said that it is such a wonderful, even if someone touches the Srimad Bhagavatam, he will be immensely benefited. And I remember Prabhupada, he made a statement that someone asked him about when he went to America, going to America when he was going to, and he actually said that actually Srimad Bhagavatam was going to America and I was just going with it. Srimad Bhagavatam was going to, I think Giriraj made that comment. Srimad Bhagavatam was going to America and I was going with it. So, so a very auspicious day today, Bhadra Punim. And if one gives a Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, here in this section of the 12th canto where this verse is quoted, it extols all other Puranic scriptures shine forth in the assembly of saintly devotees only as long as that great ocean of nectar, Srimad Bhagavatam, is not heard. In other words, all the other literatures are shining, but when Bhagavatam is there, Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedic philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature. So here it is mentioned in the purport that all other literatures may be prominent and important, but in the face of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they go in the back. It is such an ocean of nectar and such a supreme literature. By faithfully hearing it, reciting it, distributing of it, the world will be sanctified and other inferior literatures will fade to a minor status. So today, Bhadra Purnima ki jai. A very wonderful day today. You know all these, Sannyasa Vishwarup, Sannyasa Prabhupada. Was there another occasion today? Anyway, Bhadra Purnima. So today, and today's verse, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma, he talks about all these different types of entities, all these different species of life, and how actually. And now in the Bhagavad Gita, Atava Bahuna Tena Kim Yatena Tavajuna Vistabhyamidam Krishna Ekam Sena Stito Jagat Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Srimad Udidanev Tad Tativa Vagachatam Mamate Domsa Sambhava. I think Giri Hariprabhu was mentioning that, with a spark of my splendor, there are many wondrous things in the world, but in Krishna. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says very emphatically, we've heard this before, Yachchapi Sababhutanam, this verse, Bijam Tadaham Arjuna, Natat Asti Vinayatsham Maya Bhutam Characharam. I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. This is Krishna's emphatic statement. That can exist without me. There is no end to my divine manifestations. And he's talking to Arjuna. Then this verse, Yad Yad Vimuti Bat Sattvam. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Atava Bahunati. But what need of their single fragment of myself I pervade and support this entire universe. Now here Prabhupada explains that angsa, that single fragment, is the Paramatma. The Paramatma goes everywhere. So we have these different species of life, some great, some small, but within the heart of all these different species is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Paramatma. So he is sustaining. Nothing can exist without me, Krishna says. So now Prabhupada mentions here, he emphasizes on the point that due to not having factual knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God, especially Krishna and Govinda, then one in ignorance may see something grand. And according to your position of understanding, you're brought up in a certain place, in a certain environment, and in a certain culture, and you have a certain level of education. So according to your position, you see wondrous things around you. And Prabhupada says here, whether it's a big banyan tree even, You go to some parts of the world and they worship big banyan trees, big huge trees or big mountains. They actually worship. They think this is great. They take it as some sort of representation of God, or God himself manifests as a mountain. So that's there according to that perception. There is a tendency for all of us to worship or at least respect something greater, as if we're looking for something greater. It's intrinsic within all of us to look for something greater, and unknowingly or knowingly we're looking for that. So according to our situation, we may worship a great tree, and some of the trees are very awe-inspiring. I remember visiting, I went in California. They got the sequoias up there and the redwood further up. They're huge, amazing trees. There's that big one in up north of Auckland there. What's that one called? Kauri, but there's a certain Maori name for that tree. And I visited. It's a huge, gigantic, very majestic tree. It's like 2,500 years old or something like that. Just a huge tree. And there's a certain presence there also when you go there. Everything's very quiet. Now you've been there, right? Yeah. So so sometimes these huge trees, are quite awe-inspiring. Or huge waterfalls, huge mountains. And I remember one time when I was flying from Calcutta to Delhi, and somehow or other the pilot took a more northerly course than usual. And so as we were going, he said, ladies and gentlemen, look out the right side of your window. And so he said, there's Mount Everest. It's a clear day, and you can see Mount Everest. And so everyone looked out the right side of the window, and there was Mount Everest. And plane flies at 36,000 feet, and you just look at it, and there it is, right there. That's how high it is. I mean, it's said to be like 29,000, 30,000 feet. So, but it looked like it was just right there. And I was, wow, look at that, the plane. We're right in the sky, and there's the mountain just there. So, we're these great, huge things. I remember going up to Badrinath and all these Gangotri, you get up there in the Himalayas. Huge things, man. They're very awe-inspiring. And you can understand why some people, they just worship these mountains. They worship trees. Some of these trees are just amazing. Trees, Prabhupada mentions, what else does he say here? They worship the mountains, they worship trees. Birds, beasts, some, powerful beasts. He gets in the dead bodies. The word used here is pretas. Satan's, evil spirit, jinn. These are bhutas. This is quite common. You go around to I know in Indonesia they very much worship the ancestors, who are mentioned here also, the ancestors, and they very much worship certain types of demigods. They worship also bhutas. And there's different types of bhutas as described here. Pretas. Pretas are considered very ugly looking. A type of bhuta. It's between when someone dies and is cremated, and then before they take birth again, there's a period, and that's considered a preta. Okay? And someone who's acted very sinfully and very lustfully, and they're sometimes depicted as very hungry bhutas. They're always craving something to eat. But those are pretas, kushmandas, what else does it say? Jinn. And what is it? What is jinn? Jinn. Jinn is the... wind. Jinn and wind, some worship the wind. Jinn is what's the name used here? The Muslim. But what the name used here is Raksha, demons. Can you find it there? Pretas. Pretas are dead bodies. They're the Pisicha. Pisicha are very evil spirit. Bhuta. Bhutas is just a general term for ghosts. But here it's translated, Bhuta is jinn. Kasmanda, a special type of evil spirit. They're the Satans. So all these different types, and actually in the Puranas there's descriptions of every one of them, and what they look like. You can't normally people can't see them. Some are considered shape shifting. I think which one of them is shaping? not the Pretas, I think the Pisages. The Pisages they're considered like they can shape shift, and they can manifest themselves sometimes, and they can, they like to. So many people worship the Bhutas. That's quite common. I know around the islands here, we went on a Sankirtan party around the Solomons and the Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu and all that. And many of them, previously they would worship the Bhutas, and in Indonesia they worship the Bhutas, and generally every intersection they have a little thing there. They put an offering on there. They put food there, cigarettes. They figure that someone's become a Bhuta now and probably missing a cigarette. so they put cigarettes there and all sorts of things. Generally, and all sorts of eatables. Generally we see all the dogs are eating them. But anyway, so some are worshipping them, leaders of the Nagaloka. And then you get, as Prabhupada says here, they become more developed. They start worshipping the demigods. And then, higher and higher they start worshipping the Pitas and the Prajapatis, and then going right up to Lord Shiva. Unfortunately, because of a lack of understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they accept these. Sometimes they just accept the demigods, or any one of these, or all of these combined. All of these combined. These are all Shaktas, as Prabhupada says it. Shaktas. Shaktas, worshippers of material energy, or manifestations of the material energy. Prabhupada actually categorizes modern day scientists. They're very fascinated. Maybe they don't consider themselves as worshippers, but they're so fascinated and obsessed by trying to understand it all. You could almost, as a type of worship of it. So they're Shaktas. The energy, but what about the energetic? They're busy with the energy, but where does the energy come from? That originally is the Supreme Personality of God. So because of a lack of knowledge, even when Krishna comes himself, and this is a good point here that Prabhupada makes, Vajananti Mam Mudha, they have such a lack of knowledge of Krishna's actual position that even when Krishna comes, they don't accept him. No, God can't come in any personal form. It's an offense to think like that. This is very prevalent amongst the Mayavadis, very prevalent in Islam. If you try to give a name or not a name or a form to God, that's very offensive. That's bringing God down to the human level, and that's very offensive to God. So therefore, if someone says Krishna is God, or even at the time when Krishna came, they didn't accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even if he doesn't come, they don't know about him, they just accept all these other things. And even when he comes, still they don't accept him because they have got no factual information. So this is a very, very strong point. So whether God comes, whether he is in the form of the energy or the Brahman, but all these things are just expansions. This is the point that Lord Brahma says. And in the end of the purport, factually the Lord is not formless, he says, nor does it belong to any of the multi-forms. They are just expansions of his energy. He's not any of them. Certainly they come from him, and certainly he sustains it all, but you can't say that this one is, or all of them are combined. Sometimes we go to a Hindu household and they've got, one place I went one time, on the altar they had everyone on there. All the devas, they had Jesus Christ on there, they had Muhammad on there, they just had everyone on there. And so they're worshipping all of them. So some think that this one is God, or that thing is God, or that one is supreme, or all of them, we don't know exactly, so we'll just put all of them on there and worship all of them. So therefore, Prabhupada concludes here by saying, one should try to know the truth about the Lord by following the instructions of Brahmaji. So we can go speculating forever and ever, but one will never actually. But what need is there of this Arjuna? Krishna says, of this, with a single fragment I support of myself, I support this entire universe. So he also says, my opulence is unlimited, right in the beginning of the chapter he says that, but I will tell you of a few of my opulences. There is no end to my opulences. Now it is said also, I remember reading a long time ago, that the chit potency, the sandhini potency, samvit, the knowledge potency, the existential potency, they're always expanding. It's not that Krishna is static. All his potencies are expanded, his form, his energies, his leelas, his qualities are always expanding. When his knowledge, when his Ananda expands, or when his chit, sandhini, samvit, when the knowledge expands, the knowledge also expands to accommodate all his expansions and all. So it's continuously going on. This is the position of Krishna. We can never actually know. But at least we can understand what the position is, and therefore Prabhupada says here, one should try to know the truth about the Lord by following the instructions of Brahmaji. So this is very, very important. Follow the authorities who have understood these things, and then we can go on the right path. Otherwise, who knows what to do in the world, what to understand. If we have to accept authority like Brahmaji and all the acharyas to understand these things just correctly. Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much. Now, has anyone got any question or comments?
Just a quick question, just curious. Sitala Devi, the goddess of smallpox.
Oh yeah.
I've just never heard that before. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah, Sitala Devi and Sunny Devi. Sunny Devi is the demigod. He is known as Saturn. In the Saturn, there's a whole story of Sunny Devi that actually Lord Surya's wife. He's the elder brother of Yamaraj. And it is said Yamaraj dispenses justice to those who have departed, and Sunny Devi dispenses justice to those who are living. And he's the elder brother because one time when Sandhya Devi, Lord Surya's wife, she was feeling intense heat being always in the association of her husband, and so she wanted a break. So she created out of like a shadow of herself, a chaya of herself. And would look very similar to herself, but it was actually a shadow of herself. So she went back to Daksha, her father, for a little while. He told her to go back to her husband, but she didn't like that because he was too hot. So she eventually went back, but for some time she practiced tapasya. But she left Chaya Devi, and so that from the union of the Surya and Chaya Devi, Sunny Devi was there, and he's known as Saturn. So he dispenses justice, but he's also prayed to overcome evils, and so that's Sunny Devi. And as far as Sitala Devi, there's a story of Sitala Devi. She's a manifestation of Parvati, that one time during a yagya, Sitala Devi came, and she was carrying a water pot, which meant curing diseases. There was an Asura born. He's known as Jvara Asura. Jvara Asura. And Jvara Asura was the Asura of diseases. There's an Asura of diseases. So he was going everywhere spreading diseases, and he's spreading diseases. So she was a demigoddess that was appeared, a manifestation of Parvati that appeared. She was riding on a donkey, carrying a water pot, carrying a broom to sweep, and this is quite common in India. They pray, especially in northern India, they pray to Sitala Devi to be free from all the diseases in the family. So so some worship her in that way. She is the supreme. So especially smallpox and all those types of diseases.
Should we recommend the government worship the Sitala Devi to get rid of the corona?
Sorry?
Should we worship Sitala Devi to get rid of the corona?
As Prabhupada says here, just worshipping Krishna, all others are included. All others are included. So, otherwise you could be worshipping all sorts of... So just worship Krishna, and all are expansions and manifestations of Krishna's energy. But that's Sitala Devi, Sunny Devi, very interesting histories as far as their stories are concerned. But some, we don't know about them so much, but apparently the stories that in some Hindu households they very much worship Sitala Devi and Sunny Devi also. Sunny Deva, not to say Devi, Sunny Devi. All right. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.